With love, Padre Prema. If you're currently dealing with a loss that lingers in the background of your life, unspoken, unprocessed, or quietly heavy, and you've been facing the hidden weight of grief and you're ready to reconnect with the truth of what was lost, then this video is for you. Hi, my name is David William Pierce, and in this video I'm going to share not just a mantra at the start, which is designed to help you process grief. I'm going to share with you Tantric insights, what scripture says about grief and processing this first stage of denial. I'm going to share my personal insight into my journey with grief and how it's evolved, and how this practice, which I did today, really supported me in processing my grief. And by the end of this video, I'm going to share the letter that I wrote that I'd been putting off for a year because I was heavily avoiding really sitting with this grief and consciously integrating and processing the experience, the loss that I'd been through. So let's get going. Let's start with a little insight into Tantric teaching. The truth is the first step to liberation. And this begins with acknowledging what is. The mantra that I want to share with you, and if you take anything away from this video, first 2 minutes, Sat Shoka. Sat Shoka. Truth, grief. This mantra helps to soften the heart into truth. Repeating Sat Shoka supports the nervous system by accepting what was denied and grieving what was lost without shame or self-blame. In Tantric practice, truth, Sat, is seen as a gateway to liberation. In Tantric teaching, suffering is ignorance to the truth of what is, and so to alleviate suffering, we really need to reside and abide and express our truth. Grief, shoka, is not an obstacle to joy, but a bridge. Let this mantra remind you that when you bring light to grief, it transforms into love. When you bring light to grief, it transforms into love. My story with grief. I experienced grief after my last relationship ended in 2021. And I hadn't experienced grief before, but this was something I can't really even put into words other than I was distraught, I was distressed, I was heartbroken, I was broken, I was crying, I was on the floor in puddles, in pieces. I met up with a dear friend and just broke down, literally fell to my knees, and he was so kind and picked me up and gave me a pep talk, and it did support, but it didn't move the grief that was sitting inside me undigested. It took a year plus for me to move through that grief. A year of pain and suffering, of heartache and tears, of looping through my mind. It's unpleasant. It was worse than depression. It led to depression, I think. All because I lost myself when I lost that relationship. And that's partly because I externalized my sense of self. I defined myself externally. Tantra teaches us that what we resist persists, not just in our minds, but in the subtle body. Denial is a refusal of the truth, which blocks prana, life force, and keeps us entangled in the illusion of separation. By meeting grief fully, we begin to dissolve anavamala, the impurity of individuality, the false sense that we are alone in our pain. This impurity of individuality, it's one of 3 impurities in Tantric teaching: impurity of individuality, differentiation, and action. This first, anavamala, is a belief that we're not already enough as we are. We externalize. We believe we're alone in our pain, that we need fixing, that I needed fixing, that I needed to add something to my life, that individual, that I needed to remove the pain. And it's a fine line between doing something for a heartfelt reason, one from fullness, and a heartless reason, and one from fear. When we bring loving awareness to what has been denied, we offer ourselves the grace of reconnection with our wholeness, with God, with life. So in that instance, in that grief that I experienced back in 2021, 22, I was so distraught. And yet, this time experiencing grief has been so different. The quote, "What is grief if not love persevering?" has really resonated with me. This mantra, this practice, this integration question that I've been exploring today is to process denial, to highlight what could have been, and to really sit in that and appreciate that and find the love in that, not the loss. This practice that I did today, I was expecting to find, no, I wasn't even expecting, because grief previously had looked so painful, I didn't expect to find what I did today. And that was love. I got to write a letter to So let me express this grief is focused around the loss of a pregnancy almost a year ago. And I've not really fully sat with it. I've not been on the journey of grief that I know my partner has, to a degree I know. Because it hasn't hit me the same way as that last relationship did, ending. Because whilst I did lose a child, I hadn't connected to that child fully. And so that's what this practice today was about. It was taking the time to connect with the child that could have been, and see, find, experience, express all of the things that I was looking forward to, and the things that I don't get to now experience because it wasn't meant to be. And finding acceptance in that, and finding peace in that, and finding my evolution in that. I think a part of me hasn't realized that I have changed, because I didn't really get the opportunity to, or at least to really sit in that change, to feel the touch of my child, to see them gaze into my eyes, to hear them cry. All of the things that make that life tangible didn't come to fruition. And so I've used this integration day, this day of grief, sitting in denial, this mantra of Sat Shoka, to really vibrate in the essence of grief. And what an opportunity to do that. So for those who aren't aware, mantra, Sanskrit, is designed to vibrate at the essence of what it points to. It's a technology as much as it is a language. And being able to sit in the vibration of grief allowed it to move through me, allowed my nervous system to accept what had been denied and grieve what was lost without shame or self-blame, without the pain and suffering and distraught expression that I went through the last time I sat with grief. This was incredibly different. And so if you're sitting with grief, even if it's subtle, the invitation is to use the mantra, Sat Shoka, to repeat it as you sit with the grief and let the grief move through you, let it digest as you vibrate and allow it to express itself. And add movement where necessary, where desired. Because for me at least, it allows my body to fully process, fully digest, to fully vibrate at that frequency of grief. And I was able to really move through and have a beautiful experience where I met my daughter. Satya is what I named her in my practice. And have a full experience, a full lived experience with her. And it was really beautiful. And it was a really different way of experiencing grief. Not the harrow, but the love. The other end of the spectrum. In Tantric teaching, they're paradoxically opposite ends of the same spectrum. You can't have one without the other. You can't know great love without experiencing great grief when you lose it. And It depends on the attachment that you have to it. Being able to experience it from a place of non-attachment allows it to flow through rather than get stuck. And this is what grief can be. It can be energy that gets stuck in the body, which then reverberates and echoes as stories, as thoughts, as limiting beliefs, which then fuel our emotions, because emotions and thoughts in tantric teachings are not separate, but again, opposite ends of the same spectrum, inextricably linked. And those emotions that are stuck create our actions, inspire our actions, which can lead to dis-ease in the body. And that's the value and the necessity of really integrating and processing that grief, even if it's not being felt as you might expect. The likelihood is something is lingering, and until it's highlighted and processed and brought into conscious awareness, it can be an obstacle to joy. And so this practice was one to remind you that when you bring light to grief, it transforms into love. So, if you are sitting with grief, whether evident or subtle, reflecting on this question is vital, because grief unprocessed becomes grief prolonged. Trust me on that. Denial might have helped you survive, but it cannot help you heal. This is an opportunity to say, I see what I've lost, and I choose to honor it, so I can also honor what's still to come. This question gently reintroduces intimacy with reality, and with that, the possibility of freedom. Thank you for listening. Good luck with your journey. If you need support, please reach out. I'm happy to offer that. I do alignment work and alignment sessions, and I can't express the value of simply being heard and witnessed in what's expressed. If you're still with me, enjoy listening to the letter that I wrote to Satya, and I wish you all the best. Ananda Shanti. The courage to feel what's true. Where in your heart are you still pretending that it didn't hurt? Where have you been shielding yourself from pain? Stop running and let it sit beside you like a friend. Denial is often not a refusal to see, but a need for safety before we're ready to. Today, ask yourself, what are you ready to finally feel? 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 Let's feel all the emotion of this letter that you've just invested so much in. Let's feel it. Because what a gift to feel. What is grief if not love persevering? To close yourself off to grief is to close yourself off to half the spectrum of love. What if what if what if what if what if Sat Shoka. Dear Satya, truth and grief. To the life that didn't happen. To you. Thank you for choosing us. Choosing. Thank you. Happen. To sharing breakfasts together. Sacred pauses. Then lighting up each time I see you. Like it's the first time. I'm sorry I've not really taken the time to look at you and be with you. I've been wandering the desert. But luckily I wasn't alone. Neither will you be, ever. How could you be? Sharing breakfasts together. Even in sacred pauses. Not the last, not ignoring you, but showing you all my love. You're such a gift, and I'm so grateful. Even if it doesn't seem it. Even through the suffering. That looks different. All sides of me. Didn't know grief could look like this. Look like this. So much love. Enjoyment. Peace. Shanti. Prema. Satya. Calm. Satya. Welcome. Hi. Hello. I've been all over the place. lost. Teaching you to move for yourself has been a blank canvas to play with and discover how you play back. Sat, Agni, truth and fire. Truth and fire. You are truth and fire. Sat, Agni. You play back with truth and with that fire. And I get to discover how I play with the blank canvas that's learnt to move for herself. Aham Agni. I thought I was fire. You've shown me levels I hadn't even considered. Such passion. Atma Prema. Atma Prema. I am love. I am love. Atma Prema. Atma Prema. Atma Prema. There are moments I can't stand your heat and retreat from the flames to regroup. You know, though, you get me implicitly because you are fully me and fully you. And that's where I struggle sometimes. Still. The unfamiliar parts I'll never truly know. Shoka. Shoka. It feels like home. Still pretending. It does hurt. Where your light still burns in me. Those fiery parts. Beside me, where you'd stand, only my shadow. For company, I learned how to be gentle with you, to move with grace, to move with grace. A safe place with Tiffany. It feels like home in a good way. Your mum, so gracious. It feels like home. That's why we named you Satya Grace. That's why we named you Satya Grace. A graceful truth. A taste of two worlds. Your mum, Tiffany, shone deliciously beyond what I'd enjoyed the taste of so far to date before you. You brought out a side in her I was so enamored and impressed by. Not just what she could carry, you, but what she chose to share with me, with you, with the world. Her sat there, enjoying, in gear, affirmed. It's sweet, my sweet apple. Together we'll dance as one. Give me baseline. Give me feet for dancing. Give me highlights. Give me good times. Give me feet for dancing. You're the movie I didn't get to watch, but I'm so curious to see the way you dance, the way you move, the way you find such passion with such grace. Satya. Dulce. Gracias. You ground me in this reality, in this world, in this life, in this being, in a way I couldn't dream of before. To get a taste with you. Atma Prema. God gave me feet for dancing, and God gave you feet for dancing. Remember, Smara Ananda. Smara Ananda. Remember. Joy. Good times. With love. Padre Prema. Thank you. Thank you. Day one. Denial. Acceptance. 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 Satya. Contented bliss. Ananda. 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 Shanti. 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 Ananda. Shanti.